Old sales leads might seem like lost opportunity. I mean, after all, they've already turned you down or ghosted you. Why would you invest more time? Here's the thing. The reason why is because unless it ended on a negative note, like they were upset with you for some reason, and in fact, even if they were, you already built a relationship and some rapport. So if they decided to go with a competitor instead of you, if they put off their decision indefinitely, whatever the case might be, or maybe you just don't know, but they've just disappeared. The reality is you have created some sort of a relationship. So it's going to be easier to open those doors than, say, the doors of somebody who doesn't know you at all. So with that, there are 5 steps you need to take in order to rejuvenate those old sales leads. Number 1, and by the way, I'm going to set these in a sequence so you can actually apply these as you go. Okay, so you can do these in the order I share them, or just do them individually, whatever your preference. Number 1, create your reason for calling strategy. First thing I want you to do with your past sales leads, once you gather them, is reach out. And I don't want you to email them unless you think it's appropriate. I prefer you call them. Now, here's the thing. When you call, you'll likely get voicemail, so you'll have to be ready with your reason for calling strategy. Now, that reason for calling can be anything at all that seems relevant. If they've decided to go with a competitor, your reason for calling might be to check in and see how things are going with that competitor's product. And of course, you have to be genuine. If they've disappeared off the face of the earth, you don't know really what happened, your reason for calling might be to check in and make sure everything's okay. Whatever the case is, come up with your reason for calling. And that is your first step to take in order to rejuvenate. You're going to make a call and you're going to have a reason for calling. Once you get into this, you can start to replicate, then move to step 2. The second step I want you to develop here and introduce is your keep in touch strategy. So now that we've re-engaged and had a reason for calling, we've got to keep in touch. How do we do that? Well, there's a multitude of ways. I know some people that use holidays, national holidays, as a way to keep in touch. They take those national holidays such as maybe Easter, Christmas, whatever holiday you decide, pick 2 or maybe even 3. Thanksgiving is another one throughout the year. And the week leading up and the week following those holidays, they simply reach out to all of their past clients and prospects to see how are things going, what's new, how's the year progressing, etc. Okay? So you have to pick and choose. I know one individual that actually used birthdays as part of their keep in touch strategy because it was easy for them when they met somebody to figure out what their birthday was. They would put it in their calendar. Now, the problem was down the road, their calendar was absolutely jammed with birthdays, which becomes a little bit overwhelming. But it ensured that they stayed in touch with at least key past clients, those that they really strongly believed there was another opportunity. What I want you to do is simply set a frequency. Maybe it's quarterly, maybe it's every 6 months. Don't make it every year. It's got to be more frequent than every year, but at least every 6 months, preferably maybe every quarter, you send something, you reach out. So one time it might be to mail some information on a new product line. The next time it might be a simple email that you send out. The next time it might be a phone call to check and see how their summer's gone. Mix it up, have some variety, but make sure you have a keep in touch strategy that's mapped out so you can just simply execute it and you can introduce new past clients or prospects, ones that are arising every day, into your system, and everything keeps flowing as you want it to. Then you're going to move to step number 3. Step number 3 is your, one more thing strategy, right? Here's what this is. So we've reached out and hopefully re-engaged at least some of our past clients and prospects, right? We've got some sort of dialogue going and we've got a method to stay in touch on a regular basis. What I want you to do is as you start to introduce that stay in touch strategy, selectively choose, maybe you pick 5 a week, maybe 10, maybe 1 a week. It depends on how long your list is. And you reach back out kind of in amongst your touch point or your follow-up strategy. And you say something like, I had a quick question for you. Just one more thing I wanted to ask. Okay. That is something that's going to get their attention and they're going to engage. Now, if they've already engaged, they've answered your call and they said, yeah, hey, let's keep in touch. This works very easily. If they haven't responded, if you've reached out to step 1, haven't got a response, you've maybe initiated your keep in touch strategy, haven't heard much, and then you try this, it might take a little more effort. But most people enjoy talking about themselves. So that's our goal here. So what we're going to do is this strategy is all about trying to get our past clients or even past prospects to really give us their feedback or input. So you can use any of the following strategies for your one more thing strategy. You may ask them for feedback on your presentation. You may ask them for feedback on your product or service. You may ask them for feedback on how you can improve your presentation, your product or service for next time. You may ask them what other opportunities they might suggest you pursue or can support them with. You might ask them for a reference or referral into another client that they believe you might be able to help. And by the way, if you didn't know that, here's a little secret for you. There you are, right there. Here's the secret for you. The secret is this. You can ask for referrals from anybody. You see, even if you lose a client, even if they disappear, or they go with the competition, the reality is, if you've treated them well and you've got a relationship, they still feel like, okay, maybe they should help you. So if somebody calls and says, look, we've decided to go another direction, many times that person feels maybe a little bit of guilt. Now, if they don't like you, no guilt. But if they did like you, they appreciated your time, which most people do, right? They feel a little bit of guilt. So it's a great time to say, hey, by the way, do you know somebody else that might appreciate our product or service? Number 4 really builds on what I mentioned earlier. I call this the birthday strategy. So you want to take something like your CRM, if you have one, or if you have a spreadsheet, that's fine too. Identify these folks that you're reaching out to as a list. We talked about that at the very beginning. And I want you to try and identify their birthday. Now, how can you figure this out? Well, you might know it, but you can also look it up oftentimes on Facebook or LinkedIn. It's in there. And if you look in their profile and do some digging, you will find that. Note what that is, group them by date, and then every week, just simply take a look at your spreadsheet, whose birthday is coming up this week, and make sure on that day you reach out. And what I want you to consider is this: if you reach out the day before their birthday, and you say, hey, realize tomorrow's your birthday, just want to be the first to wish you a happy birthday. Now they know, right, there's something there, because let's be honest, social media pops up all the time and says, hey, today's such and such birthday. So if you've noted it and you contact them the day before, wow, you're paying attention, right? That's important, and it's going to help you. So make sure step 4 is to introduce the birthday strategy for all your past clients. It's going to help you rejuvenate and get these relationships going until you move to the last step, which is number 5. The last step I want you to do is make sure that when you're connecting, and when you do connect and you get a conversation going, you ask these past clients, or if they're prospects, you say, may I ask you a question? You know, we spoke last year, last week, last month, whatever the case was, and I realize you've decided to go in a different direction or with a different product or different service, or I realize that we just haven't been able to connect ever since then. I was wondering if I may ask a favor. Is there somebody else you know in a similar business such as yours that may appreciate the product or service that I'm selling? If so, would you be willing to introduce me? And if not, could you give me an idea who they might be so that I may follow up? And by the way, could I use your name? Now, there's some language you can use, but the key is this. By asking for referral, you move back into the give and take dialogue you were having at the very beginning when you met them, which is they have an interest, a need, you're trying to satisfy it, and you're moving back and forth. You're engaging back into that, and it's really a way to flush out, or better said, allow those past clients to rise to the top who are really champions for what you're selling, right? Let's be honest, sometimes your buyer says no, but it wasn't ultimately their decision. Maybe somebody else decided on their behalf, maybe budgets were cut, and they still want to stay in touch. So stay in touch. Use these strategies, and most importantly, make sure you monetize these strategies and generate new opportunities by asking for referrals. So there you have it, 5 steps you can use to rejuvenate past clients and even past prospects by using these 5 different strategies. If you'd like to check out more videos, make sure you watch these videos next to learn more sales skills. And as mentioned, click subscribe, you get notified each and every time I release a new video. And we'll talk to you soon.